everyone. Welcome back to Third Shot Podcast. We hope your 2025 is off to a great start. I can't believe it's already 2025,
Crazy. How did that happen?
right? So fast. And our podcast is still going after a year plus. And so that's very exciting for us. And we just want to thank all of our listeners and supporters for being there along with our journey and supporting us along the way, listening to all of our previous episodes, commenting, engaging with us on social media. And if you haven't already, you can go to our social media, Instagram and Facebook at Third Shot Podcast. We're also on X at Third Shot Pod. Another great resource is our website, thirdshotpodcast.com, where you can go check out all of our previous episodes, some blog posts. We've got our apparel up there for sale. So whatever you'd like, Third Shot is there for you.
That's right. We are. And if you want to take a shot with us, now's the time to do it.
Now, my drink matches my outfit today, too. What am I
Oh, how
doing?
cute. Cheers. What are you
Cheers.
drinking?
I've got a little hydration plus. So Bolt House Farms usually does like fresh juices, but this one is mixed with cucumber juice and coconut juice or coconut water so that it's a little bit more hydrating.
How healthy.
I'm trying. Got the wedding coming up. I gotta mind my
Yeah.
P's and Q's when it comes to my diet.
So tell me what's going on with the wedding. I mean, we kind of talked off before we recorded last week about the wedding. It's exciting. It's getting closer and closer.
Oh my gosh, you're telling me. So most of the details are set, and we've got like the smaller things, like the floral arrangements and the decor and things like that to figure out. But the big pieces, like the venue, DJ, transportation, is all set.
Nice.
So it's coming
Nice.
down to it. Yeah, we've got a fun trip coming up too in March, the month before the wedding, to go pick up our clothing for the Indian wedding ceremony. So that's going to be exciting, and I finally get to try it on. So I'm excited to see.
I'm looking at some clothing as well for the Indian side of the wedding. So,
We'll have
yes.
to make a post so everybody can see what we're talking about and see all of our beautiful attire for both weddings. It's all going to look so nice.
Yeah. I can't wait. It's gonna be so exciting. Plus,
I know.
my daughters are in your wedding party, so I get to see them all dressed up and you all
Yeah.
dressed up. It's gonna be so cool.
Yeah. And maybe we can squeeze in some pickleball between the wedding and then me leaving on the honeymoon. We've got a couple days. I think we can do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. We'll fit
Yeah.
it
And
in.
for any of our listeners too who may be in the area, they should come meet up with us too.
Are you inviting them to the wedding, Bridgie?
I
Is
wish
that
I
what
could,
I
but
thought that's where you're going right there. It's like, "And all the listeners, if you are in the area, come by the wedding and join us." And I'm
oh,
like,
that would be fun. We can have like a post wedding pickleballing if people are interested in coming.
"Oh, that would be
But
fun."
unfortunately, the head count has been set.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think it's gonna be just a wonderful event, and it's gonna be nice just to kind of see people that I haven't seen in a long time. There's a lot of our family that I haven't seen in a long time that's gonna be coming to the wedding, so it's gonna be nice to kind of catch up.
Yeah, and I'll be in one space at one time because, throughout the years, you kind of just go visit, or maybe you don't even get a chance to see them. But things like this, weddings, it brings the whole family together. And you get to probably meet some new people too with,
Yeah,
my fiance side, my new family that everyone gets to meet. So I'm very looking forward to it very much.
I wonder how many pickleballers are gonna be at this wedding.
Yeah. I've found that pickleball has actually helped be a conversation starter.
Oh, really?
Uh,
What?
it
Give me an
has.
example.
So the other weekend, I went with my fiance to his friend's uh, or not baby shower. It's their daughter's first birthday. So it was a first birthday party. And it was like his friend's dad was also there. So this person I've never met, and he comes and sits down at the table. He's telling us that he moved here from Georgia and that he's at a retirement community here in Las Vegas now. And he was like, wow, the amenities there are so nice. Like they've got a community like center area with like different sports activities. And so immediately my mind goes straight to pickleball. And I was like, tell me that there's a pickleball court there. And he goes, yeah, there is actually. And so that just kind of like helped us have a conversation about pickleball. He hasn't played yet, but he is definitely interested. But yeah, it kind of helped break the ice a little bit.
Yeah, that is my new icebreaker. Well, not new, probably, but I've been using it now for about a year. But if I tell people that I play pickleball, I use it a lot in business actually. So if
Oh,
I'm
really?
meeting a potentially new client or what have you, and I just mentioned that, yeah, I play a lot of pickleball now, it is immediate. The big smile comes on their face because they go, "Oh, pickleball, yeah, I hear how fast it's growing," or "I just started to play," or "My buddy keeps wanting me to go out and play with him." Like, everybody has some type of connection to pickleball right now. Like, they know somebody or they're playing, and I just think that bodes so well for the sport. It's gonna continue to grow and grow and grow. In fact, right before this, I was having a conversation with a bunch of people, and they're saying probably in 2025, the largest age demographic of growth in pickleball is gonna be people in their, like, teens and 20s.
Oh,
So, for the
wow.
longest time, it was the 50-year-olds, then it became, like, the
Mhm.
30-year-olds. Now it's gonna be teens and 20s is gonna be the largest growth demographic in the sport in
I
2025.
That's really good to hear because I think, once we started hearing like pickleball's growing, like everybody loves it. The question was, well, what's the longevity of the sport and is the popularity going to continue to grow? So, hearing that teens and 20s, like the younger generations are getting more into it, I think that we can be hopeful that it is going to continue on and grow the sport even more.
I think so because when I talk to people, so I was just talking to a buddy that I haven't spoken to probably in about, not that I haven't spoken to him, but I haven't seen him in person for about 5 years, probably since before COVID hit. And he knows I do the podcast, stuff like that. And his son, who is, I think, a sophomore in college right now, is playing pickleball, and he's really getting in the sport. And he's home for the holidays, and he said, "Dad, I want to go play pickleball with you." So my friend calls me up and he goes, "Greg, I hear you're into pickleball. Like, what kind of advice you have? Do you have any equipment I can borrow because I want to go out with my son?" So he comes over to the house, and it was great just having an opportunity to catch up. And pickleball brought us together, and I showed him all different paddles and kind of explained the difference of the different paddles. And then I let him borrow four of them because he's got two other sons that don't really play pickleball yet. But the four of them
Nice.
are all going to go out as a family, and now they have a doubles match, and it's bringing them closer together by being able to play pickleball together. Now he and I are getting together more often because I'm going to help him out with his pickleball game as well. And it's so cool that pickleball is that conduit that brings all of these people back together or for the first time.
Yeah, and I've kind of had a similar experience too, going out to the pickleball courts, and then, well, you've kind of gotten your feet wet with the pickleball community in Las Vegas. Like
Yeah.
it's widespread, but everybody knows everybody, and you run into like the same people. And so once when we were out there, I ran into some old friends who I hadn't seen, or people that I've worked with in the past where, we've lost contact throughout the years. And then seeing them at the court, it's like, oh, wait, you play too? Like someone I played soccer with very frequently throughout college. We'd hang out all the time. Didn't see him after college. And then at the pickleball courts, we ran into each other, and so we just started having, like reaching out to one another to go play and stuff, and so it kind of like rebuilds that friendship.
Well, your friend Kayla, right? The two of you have played sports, what, ever since you started college together, I think, right? So you played all
Mhm.
the different sports together. But then after you graduated, that kind of stopped until pickleball. And then all of a sudden, now the two of you are playing doubles together.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you an unfortunate story now, though, but she was playing indoor soccer, my friend Kayla, and she tore her Achilles. So
Oh,
she's recently
no.
had Achilles surgery, and I went to go visit her, drop off her wedding invite. And while I was there, I was talking with her and her partner. And I was like, well, we got to get you back up because I need to start playing pickleball with you again. And then her partner Danny looked at me and she was like, I don't think that's ever going to happen. And I was like, why not?
What?
And she said, because the doctor said no more stop and go sports. And they listed pickleball and as an example of one that she should not play
Oh.
afterwards. But knowing her, she'll be back at it.
Yeah, she's so athletic, and I think it's when she got
Yeah.
the bug, I talked to a bunch of people that have had surgeries on their shoulder or elbow or knees, and they say, "Yeah, you should probably take it easy," stuff like that, and, like, 3 months later, they're on the court already.
Yep.
They just can't stay away.
Yep. Take it easy in quotes, as in like don't go all out, like play it 50%. I think that's what they
Well,
mean.
I think for these people, it's like, take it easy means I'll just take a break for 2 months, and then I'm gonna go 100% again.
Yes, it's hard once you've got the bug, like you said, you can't stay away.
You can't stay away. Like, it was really interesting. Another story is I have a friend that I was super close to, and we actually had a golf business together. And this was, gosh, we had the golf business probably 30 years ago, right? And we were really close, and he went off and did his thing. I went off, did my thing. And we literally hadn't seen each other for at least a decade. And he heard the show, he heard, the 3rd shot, and he goes, "Hey, Greg, I just started playing pickleball. It's kinda similar to my other friend." He was like, "I want some advice on paddles. Let's
Mhm.
get together." So we went out and met on one of the public courts here, and I brought, like, 6 or 7 different types of paddles, and he tried them all out, and it rekindled our relationship where now every once in a while, Doug, shout out to Doug, we're gonna get together and play pickleball. We just went to the Hub in Alameda about 3 weeks ago and, got to play there, which I love the Hub, right? It's a great facility. That's where they did the MLP event, and, it was wild because it's kinda far from where I live. Alameda is probably I think it took me 40 minutes to get there on a weekend morning.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so I don't know how many miles it is, so it's like a 40-minute drive.
Mhm.
Not terribly far, but, pretty good distance, right? I get in there at, like, 8 o'clock in the morning. By 9 o'clock, I probably said hello to about 10 to 15 other players that live out in my area that drove all the way to the Hub to play that day.
Wow.
It's crazy because it's what's the closest indoor facility to where we live, and it
Right.
happened to be raining that day, that morning,
Okay.
and everybody flocked to the Hub to play.
That's so fun though, because you've really built up your own community within pickleball and the people that you recognize and play with. And it's not just the hellos, but it's that support and like the feeling of like you belonging to something bigger. And I love that. And I think that's what a lot of people get into and appreciate about the sport in general is those connections and those relationships that they end up building with everyone.
I just thought of another story. So
What?
while I was at the Hub playing, I look next to the court next to us, and there's a lady, shout out to Lori, uh, and her and I just reconnected. She and I used to work together in, like, 1993,
Is
and
that
we
where
have
you and Auntie met? Was that
yeah,
that job?
and she
Oh
knows
my gosh.
Auntie as well too, and we hadn't worked together because she left pretty soon after I started there, so maybe 1994 she left. I haven't seen her since 1994, and
Oh my
then
god.
she was on a pickleball court, like, maybe a few months ago next to me. Oh, no, playing with me, playing against me, and then she looks at me and she goes, "I know you, we worked together, didn't we?" And then over time, we kinda pieced it all together, and we go, "Yes, we hadn't seen each other since 1994, and now
Wow.
pickleball is now our kind of common bond, and we play pickleball together once in a while.
How funny. Such a small world.
But pickleball is doing that. It's creating these relationships, whether it's a new relationship or a past relationship, it's somehow
Right.
connecting people.
Yes. In so
Remember we
many
had
different ways.
it's so many this way. We had the lady that has the pickleball dating app, right? Because
Yep.
there's a whole business around this now.
Yeah. And we should maybe like start looking into that side of things. Cause I heard we've got a pretty interesting story coming up.
We do have a fantastic story coming up right after everybody goes and takes a look at our social media accounts over on Facebook and Instagram. Please take a look at the Third Shot Podcast or go to our website, thirdshotpodcast.com. As Bridgie said, fantastic merch there, past episodes. You can read some blogs. Go to X, Third Shot Pod, and definitely go to YouTube where you can see us at Third Shot Podcast as well. And now we have special guests, Tom and Nancy. Tom, you may recognize because he was on a previous episode, just a couple episodes ago, actually. He sailed up and down the East Coast. And because, well, I'm not going to ruin the story, there's a budding relationship because of this podcast. So let's bring them on. Well, welcome to the show, Nancy and Tom.
Thank you.
I should say welcome back, Tom, because you were just on. In fact, you're making the quickest return visit to Third Shot Podcast in the
That's
history of our
true.
podcast.
Well, we've
Yeah.
got big news to celebrate, it sounds like. So, we're going to do a quick toast before we get to hear the full story to both of you, Tom and Nancy. Cheers.
Cheers to both of you.
What are you guys drinking?
Ooh,
Tell
I am drinking Korean soju right now.
and I've
What
got
is
a
that?
little hydration beverage.
So, okay.
What are you two drinking?
It's white wine, but I wish it was tequila. White wine.
White wine's not so bad. I think I'd rather drink white wine than tequila.
Oh, there we go. So, Nancy, you are new to the show, but Tom came on, a little while back, told us about his whole venture up and down the East Coast sailing. And I heard that maybe that had I don't know, something to be involved with the two of you meeting?
Yeah, actually, so one of my friends plays pickleball. I'm a tennis player. I'm starting to play pickleball now too, but she plays pickleball, and she doesn't wear any jewelry when she plays pickleball because she almost had her finger ripped off. So she doesn't have her wedding ring on, and she's been hit on several times. So it's a great way to meet people if you want to meet people. And I've actually got my brother's there now because he needs to meet somebody. So it's a great way to meet people, even just meeting friends. So she gets hit on all the time, and she's just says, I'm not available, but I have a friend that is, and she keeps sending them to me. So I've been texting a couple other, several other guys that she's sending over, kind of disinterested and not very involved. And it was just purely for fun. But so I started texting with Tom back in December, early December, and he was the same way. We were just, I wasn't looking to meet anybody, and I don't think he was either. And we were texting like once a week. I mean, it was really minimal. And then he sent me his
Just
podcast.
playing really hard to get.
It worked.
He sent me his podcast, and about I looked at it like 40 minutes. I decided I wasn't going to look at it then, but then at one point I was at the gym and I was on the elliptical. I'm like, I have 40 minutes. Let me just hear. And honestly, I was kind of afraid to listen to it because I'm like, maybe I won't like him, and it could be, I was a little bit timid about it. But then I listened to it while I was on the elliptical, and it was intriguing. And I listened to the entire thing, which is, that was pretty special because I don't usually spend 40 minutes listening to anything. And I reached out to him right away, and that was on a Friday. I was flying back home from Virginia back to Florida, and we met at the pickleball court on Sunday.
Nice. That's so cool.
Yep, I was really, and then I sent him one of my podcasts too, and he listened to it, but mine was not nearly as interesting. But and honestly, what I want to say is that everybody that is interested in meeting somebody should do a podcast, because we got through a lot of stuff in that 40 minutes that I needed to know about him, that we weren't sitting at a bar and after meeting on Match.com and having to go through that. I got a lot out of the way, and it was pretty special.
I love to hear that. What were some of the things that were kind of green flags for you as you were listening to the episode?
I have to say
Good
his demeanor. I love his level of confidence and how he spoke, because I operate a little bit higher than that, and I always like a partner that's operates a little bit lower, and I just love listening to his voice. Number one, and number two, about how he would meet people and they would come and pick him up and drive 2 hours round trip or whatever it was, and to get him to the pickleball court. I said that must be somebody pretty special. And one of the first things I asked him was if he had a car, because that was just,
Valid question.
I was a little concerned. And then, but it was that, and it was how he spoke about his travels and his way. And honestly, you can't get that on Facebook or however you're going to meet anybody. You can't get that, because he didn't know. He wasn't there to date people. He was just there to tell a story. But while I listened to it, it was really special. So I'm a big advocate of people meeting people through their podcast.
Tom, what do you have to add to this story?
Well, it's the unexpected outcome, right? I was reluctant to do the podcast in the first place. You guys know that, right? I didn't think it would be all that interesting, and then to have this happen as a result of that is it's surreal in a way, Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so great. I ran into Eric, and I told Eric how grateful I am that he
Aw.
took this up, and so you just never know what's going to happen in life, I guess. I've been single for 7 years. I haven't dated in 7 years. And
Wow.
And he's a very eligible bachelor. Like, he could date anybody he wants.
But I waited. She's been incredible. Like, I know it's stranger than life, but it's really happened here. Like, I met this gal, and she's just amazing.
So I'm sitting there watching my friends play, and he comes up because he doesn't know if it's me or not, and he startles me, and the first thing I do is scream. Do you remember?
Huh?
Yeah. So, and then he took me on the pickleball court and gave me a little paddle to play with him, and he gave me some instructions, and it was, it's fun meeting somebody in a doing an activity, because I'm very active. So that to me was number one. That was a home run. And sitting there on the pickleball court and listening to him and giving me instructions, knowing he's a really good player, and he was using his time to help me. That was pretty cool.
And we went sailing last weekend. Unbelievable. We were in the strongest winds I've been in 5 years, and she wasn't the least bit phased. She was just riding.
I thought it was normal.
Great sail. She thought it was perfect. We had a great sail. We went up to St. Augustine and back, and I sent you a picture of us biking. We've been doing a lot of biking, so it's why she wanted someone who was active, and I was also would only want to be with somebody who was active, and
We biked 30 miles today, and I haven't been biking in 20 years, or maybe 15 years. But it was a passion of mine. I just didn't have anybody to bike with. So
Was it
Wow.
when you guys went sailing, was this the first time you've ever sailed, Nancy?
yes,
Yeah,
I mean we were
unbelievable.
but I worked the entire time. He'll tell you that because I said I can go as long as I can have Wi-Fi. So I was on my computer most of the time, and I just thought it was normal.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So she passed the sailing test.
Yes, with flying colors, like not no seasickness. She went down below and did some stuff and came back up. No, it's just kind of like you have to pinch yourself and say, is this really happening?
Well,
Aw.
so Tom, I'm gonna put you on the spot. So you've met a lot of people in your travels playing pickleball, and I'm sure you've met single women, right? You meet a lot of different people. What is it about Nancy that totally drew you to
I think there's some physiological connection that people have, and then so I think we were both found each other attractive right away. And um, so there's that. But then when you start unpeeling the onion and realize that you have so much in common, uh, in in values and all world views, and then all the activities. We have I have there's just nothing that is like a negative to me, not one thing. And
Oh man, that's
that
so
doesn't
sweet.
happen. That just doesn't happen. I've been single for 7 years. I Not like I haven't had opportunities, but yeah, this it was worth the wait. Let's just say that.
Oh,
That's
well,
so
I'm
sweet.
so
I love
happy
that.
for the two of you. Yeah, it sounds like such an easy, just kind of match that, everything is lined up. Like your interests that you have, your values, like you said, like it just sounds too perfect.
I know it's right.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
It has been super. There's no drama. There's no pressure. It's just.
My friends love him. Like he's just he's easing into my world, and I'm easing into his.
Nancy, you were saying that it would be cool if you could just listen to podcasts and figure out who to date based on what they're saying on the podcast. Do you think also pickleball, like if you played pickleball with somebody now that you're starting to play, that kind of tells you a little bit about the person as well?
Yes, and Tom has a friend that number one. Lots of people have met. Pictona is one of the largest
Yeah.
pickleball arenas in the nation, I think, and people have met people there. Like it's a great way to meet somebody because you're doing something like-minded. You're not at a bar. You're not, you're. It's. I think it's a great way to meet people. And he said he had some friends that met, and they they instantly hit it off, and they have a great relationship
Oh
now.
yeah, I would never have. I went played pickleball with this friend of mine, and they had this Friday single mingle. Have you heard of the singles mingles?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so he goes to the single mingle. He meets this woman, and 2 days later they're buying furniture and planning on moving in. I'm like, I said,
Wow.
"What are you crazy? You're doing what?" and the more I got to know him and what had happened with his now wife, uh, the the more I was fascinated by it. At first I thought it was crazy, but then I realized, there's a lot of positive um, energy that comes out of it. Like it really worked for them, and it really worked out really well. Rather than doing the dance and taking your time, and the other one person not knowing where they stand, and the other person not knowing where they stand, and that whole thing, and they were just instantly this is it, we're going to spend the rest of our life together, and that's what they did.
And that was through pickleball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a couple of years ago, and since then I thought, well, maybe that's not such a bad thing, or maybe it can happen. Last thing I expected was it to happen to me. The last.
So
Well,
yeah, we
lo and
met on a
behold.
Sunday, and Wednesday was New Year's Eve.
Mhm.
I think it was something
Yeah.
like that. And he's like, "Can we spend New Year's together?" I'm like, "Sure." So it was pretty. It was nice of him to ask, because that was kind of the beginning of him meeting a lot of my friends and getting to know him a little bit better too.
How nice.
So for our listeners who may be single and looking, what pieces of advice would you give them?
Play pickleball.
Well, luckily, everybody that listens to this show probably does play pickleball, so that's good.
That's true.
Or we were at dinner tonight with some friends, and there was a grandfather there, one of our friends' dads, and he wants to meet somebody. We said, and he just had a hip replacement. We just said, just go to a pickleball court and hold a pickleball paddle and walk around.
I think it's important to have really good energy on the pickleball court. You know, it's really easy
Yeah.
to get so competitive that you lose sight of the fun of it in a way. You know, I'm guilty of the same thing. I'm not casting any judgment on anybody because I've done this. I can be the same way, where you're so intense that, you know, you lose sight of just having fun. And what I've learned, fortunately, as I've gotten to be a better player, it's been a lot easier for me to have fun. For whatever reason, I don't know. I just, I think I've had people say to me after a match how they loved the energy I brought to the court. You know, because they had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we all had a good time.
That's how I play tennis. We want to have a lot of fun, even though it's competitive. But the woman that he was actually hitting on originally, that my good friend, it makes a lot of sense because she's a lot like me, and that he picked her, it says a lot about him, because she's a really special person. So that was kind of appealing to me too.
He's got good taste.
Except he's married, and
I didn't actually hit on her. I sent a scout out to find out if she was in the
Smart.
Yeah. But then I had to fess up, like I was playing with her, I don't know, a week later, and I said, "Oh, you know, that was me that was sending the scout out to see you." She goes, "Yeah." So,
and that was when after that conversation and that connection, that's when she reached out to us and said, you need to talk to each other. Yeah.
And did she send you the podcast to listen to?
No,
He
I
did.
don't,
He
I
did.
don't,
no,
yeah,
she knows about it, but he sent it to me. Yeah, but it was funny because I really was disinterested in listening to it, but something that day made me like, why not? What the heck? Yeah, and it changed my life.
You guys did a great job.
Yeah, you made them.
You did a great job.
Yeah, you did that all yourself. We knew how great you were, and I'm glad that you came on our show to tell your story, and even more happy that you did after hearing this too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think
Yeah.
what's really cool about the interview and the feedback we're getting is like everybody says like just how real you are. Like, you
Mhm.
know, you're not trying to put on a show for a podcast or try to impress anybody. You're just yourself. And obviously Nancy heard that and you know that impressed her.
Yeah, I didn't even see it. I just listened to it. I did not know it was on YouTube, and but it gave me a moment to give him to reach out to him again, and I think that's I will never forget that day listening
Well,
to the podcast.
yeah, I'm so happy that we could be a part of that and the both of your story. But I think, yeah, maybe Uncle, we should start like helping single pickleballers, give them a
Right?
platform to show off
You
what
know,
they got.
Put
actually,
themselves
you
out
guys
there.
could do a lot. You could be like the Match.com of podcasts. Be like, if you're a
Yes.
pickleball player,
Yes.
come and tell us your story, and then people will listen. Rather than just seeing them online and hearing, reading about them, they can listen to them, and it really makes a big difference.
Oh, I like this idea.
Me too.
We we could have, third shot match
Yeah.
podcast.com or something like that, right?
Then people won't come on and be themselves. Then they'll
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
You
yeah,
got
that's
to
true.
figure a way to angle it where people would be themselves, and then later tell them, oh, we can send this out to other people to listen to. Is there? There's going to be a way to do it where they can be themselves.
if somebody would have said that this was going to be the result of my doing that podcast, I would never have believed this. I never crossed my mind one time.
well, what's interesting is we had the creator of Pickleball Dating app on our show before. And one of the questions we asked was, do people get on there when they're creating their profile? Or are they just, promoting themselves in a way, right? Like, I'm a better player or what have you. But this whole podcast idea, if we can get people to be real like Tom was, it does eliminate all that, which is really, really fascinating. I'm like, how do we pull this off, Brigie? I think
I
there's
know, right?
something here,
The
I
wheels
do
are
agree
spinning
too.
now.
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Nancy's onto something.
Yeah.
Well, if any of our listeners that are interested in finding true love, listen to future shows. Maybe one of our future guests are going to be the one for you.
That's a good way to put it. Like, be on our show and then give it to all your friends at your pickleball court that you want to meet, right?
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
true.
yeah.
Yes.
And
And
it
it
builds
gets
our
us
listenership at the same
introduced.
time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it's so fantastic to have both of you on and hear the story. We're so happy for you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
It's
much.
his bedtime.
Let's
Well,
take
thank you
one
for
last
staying
toast.
up with us.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
In our red solo cup.
Cheers to
Cheers.
Nancy and Tom.
Cheers.
Congratulations on the relationship.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on and
Makes me
sharing. And thank you, everybody listening to this fantastic story. They just kissed, by the way, if you're not watching, which was so sweet. Brigie and I will continue to share our pickleball journey. A real special thanks to Nancy and Tom for coming on and sharing their wonderful story. If you want some great picks, or you don't want to hear more stories, or you want to be a guest to maybe put yourself out there and find your future love, please reach out to us on any of our social media accounts. That would be really appreciated. And please subscribe to the show. You can support the show by continuing to listen. We will have more amazing guests and tell more stories like Nancy and Tom have in future episodes. Let's continue to share our enjoyment for the game and grow the pickleball community together. See you next time on
Thank
Third
you.
Shot Podcast.